right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast, this episode, where we will be speaking to Kim Sorrelle. I'm so excited, really pumped to be sharing this with you, Kim, today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, my word, Matthew, it's my pleasure. I've been so looking forward to this. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, guys, Kim Sorrelle, she's a multi-dimensional leader whose journey spans entrepreneurship, humanitarian work, and authorship and media. Her core expertise lies in helping others discover their unique superpower, guiding them to build purpose-driven businesses, intertwined with her deep understanding of authentic love and a transformative force. With a remarkable history of founding and scaling businesses from a young age, Kim's work especially resonates for ambitious, accomplished individuals seeking for deeper fulfillment and impact. Her mission centers on inspiring others to both give and receive love more fully, impacting personal, professional, and on societal realms. Kim, thank you so much for joining us. Shall we get started?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So we'll start a bit with some of the context of what you've been up to, and talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. It started at around about 18. What sparked your decision to pursue business ownership so early? And were there distinct beliefs or experiences from that time that still shape how you approach life today?
Oh, yeah, great question. And definitely all of the above. Yeah, so I was 18, and Matthew, I was going to be the first woman president of the United States. That was my goal. When I was in high school, that's what I was going to do. I had my life laid out before me. I knew where I was going to go to school, where I was going to go next, I had the path. I knew what I was going to do. And I didn't think that a husband and kids fit into that picture. But then I did think if I ever were to meet somebody, he had to have two things. He had to be over 6 foot tall, because my very short mom married a very short man, and I wanted to give my kids a fighting chance at some height. And he had to be really good looking, so he'd look good in my wedding pictures, which obviously I was a very deep thinker at 17 years old. And the very end of my senior year in high school, this tall, dark, handsome man walked in the room, and I was immediately smitten. And 10 days later, I asked him to marry me, and he said yes. And we got married less than a year later. And so here, my plans shifted completely, because he was still in college. He was older than I am, but he was still going to the university. And so I was trying to figure out, am I going to go to school? Which I did. I went to school for a while, but I had to have a way to pay for school. We had to have a way to pay bills. And so with a loan, $50,000 loan,
Wow.
I bought this old John Whitcomb furniture manufacturing building that had been sitting empty for a long time. So I bought it for 50 grand, which was so cheap for,
Wow.
I think it was 250,000 square feet. And I rented space. So commercial space, storage space, office space, whatever. And it was a great business. It was really great. So then I bought another building, and then another and another and another. And it just snowballed from there. But it was such a great business that I didn't need to go to school. And I wasn't sure, about the political thing anymore, how interested I was in that, and wanted to see my husband finish. So that was my first business. A couple of years later, I started another business. But anyway, so yeah, so that's what got me going. And the things that I learned 100% are still so true for today.
For
instance, working smart is so much better than working hard. And having the right people, treating people right, whether they're your customer or the people that work for you, makes all the difference in the world. So I had people that worked for me for 30 years, 35 years, people that just would come and they stayed with me. And it's because I treated them right, because that's what you should do as a human being, right? Is treat people right. And I have customers that I, still talk to and are whatever I'm run into wherever, because you treat them right. You treat people with respect, my goal was always to do more than expected. Yes, they had the space, but I was going to make sure the space was great. I was going to make sure there was good security, whatever needed to be done to go above their expectation for what they were getting. And I think those two things coupled together just are the ticket to success.
So just take a little bit step back. So you decided at the age of 8, were you 18, right, when you bought this first,
18.
or you hired it, you rented it, or you bought it?
Purchased it, yeah.
You purchased it with the loan. Amazing. What was the thought process going on in your head to get this big? Was it an empty building? Was it full? What is it? What was it? This very
Yeah, well,
first
at that point
decision.
in time, yeah, I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so in Michigan, we have the auto industry is huge in our state. And I'm on the other side of the state from that. But there was a whole lot happening with manufacturers going in and out of business and the auto industry being shaken up and whatever at that time. And so in my city, there were all these buildings that were just vacant. And some of them had been vacant for years. And they just wanted them off their tax roll. They just wanted to get rid of them. So I was buying buildings literally for $1 a square foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
So
what would you do with them? Do you still hold those? Were you selling them? Were you flipping them? What were you doing with those properties?
just leasing space. I was leasing space. And
Oh,
so, and I was doing some, selling along the way as we bought more and whatever. But yeah, I had millions of square feet by the time I sold the business. And
wow.
so it was because it's an easy business. It's a good business. It makes sense. There's nowadays
Did,
there's these,
was somebody inspiring you to do this? Was it just, how did that first thing spark? Or was it, I mean, you don't just all of a sudden, you're 18 years old and go, oh, I see this building. I want to buy this building. What
yeah.
was the lead up to that? Like, what was the thought process going on?
Well, it's interesting. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was an entrepreneur. He started a plastic bag manufacturing company when I was 5 years old, probably. We had a machine in our basement. He had a big factory, but we had a machine in our
Wow.
basement. And so if we wanted to go to the movies or something, we had to go make bags to make enough money to go to the movies. And
Love it.
so it was always the spirit of entrepreneurship was always part of everything we did in our home. And so it
Wow.
was natural to just kind of go, okay, how am I going to make money? What am I going to do to create more income than I would waiting tables or something like that?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, yes, yeah, a lot of inspiration from my dad. Absolutely.
Amazing. And so you went on this journey of initially into real estate. You bought properties and rented out the space. You got these properties for like a penny on the dollar or whatever, and you could rent these spaces out and make a profit. Were you making good profit, average
Oh,
profit? Like, was it really good?
yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Because I wasn't paying anything for the buildings. They were
Yeah.
practically free. So yeah,
Wow.
so it was very good profit. It's a very good business. It's kind of a pain in the neck business because you can
Yeah.
have roofs that leak. You can have whatever things that happen in a building that you got to take care of. There's a lot of maintenance in old buildings, but you just roll with it. You just deal with what you have to deal with and keep things as.
Landlord responsibilities, right?
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. But a couple years into that, there was a piece of land for sale that was owned by the bank because there was a bit of a financial crash, and they were selling it for hardly anything, 140 acres, and I got it for a song, and there was a 9-hole golf course on it at the time with a little shack on the hill, and I turned it into an 18-hole golf course with a clubhouse and banquet facilities and fine dining restaurant. And so it was just being in the right place at the right time or really looking for the right thing. I bought a grocery store on St. Croix in the US Virgin Islands that was in the Wall Street Journal and it was for sale for the cost of the inventory. So it's like, well, how can you go wrong? I mean, you really kind of can't go wrong. And so that was fun for a while. So anyway, yeah, I think, if you look for opportunities, they're there. If you can think outside the box I think so often, Matthew, people are, well, I'm this, whatever, put a label on themselves. I'm in real estate, period. Well, great. If that's where opportunity is, awesome. But if all of a sudden opportunity comes up someplace else, but it has nothing to do with real estate, do you then go, well, I'm not going to have anything to do with that because I say I'm in real estate? I think, being open and being aware of opportunity, I think is something that can take you from good to great.
That's so true, so true. And there's a lot of people think that opportunity is scarce, but it's not. There's opportunity everywhere if you're aware and your eyes are open. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so many opportunities, and yeah, I look at what people are doing and are successful at, or what need can you fill, and
So good.
yeah.
And
That's
so
it.
you've obviously gone through this process in your journey. You've got businesses, you've sold businesses, you've built businesses, you've exited a few businesses. What's some of the behind the scenes challenges that you faced that outsiders or people that want to be in this kind of entrepreneurial space might not realize? And how did you overcome that and transform your perspective?
I think one of the biggest things that I needed to overcome was realizing that other people could do things that I could do. Too often there were things that I thought, well, I'm the one that has to do that. Like only I can do that. And the reality is I'm not so special. Like I can train somebody to do what it is that I do. And the only way you're going to get bigger, the only way I could get bigger was to be able to do that, to be able to fully trust other people to do, some of the things that would then free me up to do other things. Because really, when you're juggling all these balls, when you've got multi businesses going, I felt most of the time like I was a fireman, like I was just putting out fires, like people would just come to me with their issues. And I was the one that could deal with their issues. But then meanwhile, there's no time to deal with the books or deal with, the new menu coming out or those kind of things. And so releasing some of those things took me a while. But when I did, when I learned that that's what I needed to do, it definitely changed business for me.
So what you're saying, the challenges that, or the biggest challenges that stood out for you was finding time or winning back your time. Because as you're growing and building multiple businesses, maybe you've only got so much time. We were talking about that before. And so that was the challenge, right? Is I'm doing so many things, running around like a headless chicken sometimes, as entrepreneurs sometimes do. And then you made the decision to find people to help you.
Right, right, right. I mean, I had staff all along, right? But elevating staff, hiring the right staff. One thing that I learned early on is to hire slow and fire fast.
Mm.
And I made a mistake of doing the opposite of that at one point in time. When I bought the grocery store on St. Croix, we needed a manager. And a guy came to me and said he saw the ad in the paper and he just felt led, felt like God told him to come and apply for the job. And I hired him. And he was terrible. He was
Oh
terrible. I don't
wow.
know what God told him to apply for the job, but not the same one I know because he was not good at his job. But I hired him fast, and then I fired him slow. I did the
Oh,
opposite of what makes sense in business. Like I kept giving him chances and hoping he could come around. And I do believe that when you do hire somebody, there's a big responsibility with that. They're taking care of their family or whatever it is that's going on in their life. It's going to come to work, right? Like you're taking care of people. And so you don't want to just create the right atmosphere, but you want to create the right job for somebody. So anytime over the years I've ever had to let anybody go, which is one of the toughest things to do as an entrepreneur. But anytime I did, I would always look internally first. And I'd always look and go, man, did I give them the right training? Like, do they have all the tools they need to be successful at that job? Or are they completely at the wrong job? Do I have a different position for them because that's not where their gifts are? And I think it can be easy to just cut somebody off. But gosh, there can be good people just in the wrong places. So you
Yeah.
do a little maneuvering, man, you can have somebody who is loyal for life that excels in a different position. And sometimes, the answers to those, yeah, I gave them the training and no, there's not another job for them. I mean, that happened too, and would have to let people go. But I think even then, you can let people go the right way.
Mm.
I hear too often people saying they got an email or just that they came in and were told to clean out their desk. Well, what kind of respect is that for a human being, for someone who has
Mm.
shown you loyalty, who's come to your place every day to help you make money, to help your business succeed? It's like, man, you be kind. Be kind. When I let people go, I would sit down with them and chat with them. And by the end of the conversation, it would be we'd be hugging and they'd be grateful that I'm letting them go, because if you have to let somebody go, chances are they're not happy there either. So if you can come to terms with that and help them come to terms with that, and tell them you'll help them out how you can, whatever. I mean, just cutting somebody off, I don't think is ever the right thing to do unless they're stealing from you, I guess, or something. But
It's never enjoyable having to let people go, is it?
mm,
And have you, I mean, anyone that's in business understands the frustration of, um, in order to run a successful business, you need to have everybody working together on the same page, and you have to build team rapport. You have to be a good leader, not necessarily a manager, but a leader, right? When you're the person up front. And that's not always an easy task to do, especially when it comes to managing your time, finding the right people to work with you, and then ultimately, if those people aren't working out, to then say, look, it's not working out, right? And to do it with respect. I think that's a great context you bring to there. I really love that, Kim. Thank you. Um, you're known for helping people discover their own superpower. Can you walk us through a defining moment, either for yourself or someone you've coached, when the internal shift unlocked new possibilities for you or them?
yeah, well, I'm working with a guy right now that's a couple that I can think of a bunch right off the top of my head, but one man in particular that he's genius at sales. Like as a 10-year-old, he was selling these sugar nuts, these toffee nuts from door to door for YMCA or for something. Like sales is just in his blood, it's in his DNA, and he's genius at it. But his approach to sales is completely different than anything you learn in school, anything that anybody's ever taught you. And he is highly, highly, highly successful because of his unique approach. And when I first met him, he wanted to do something in the retirement space because he retired from a really big job. Like, I mean, this guy's a mover and a shaker, like his best friend is CEO of GoDaddy, right? So he knows people and he's worked with
Wow.
big people. And he wanted to do something in the retirement space because he retired and then went into what he called retirement hell. Like he had all these plans. He's going to spend time with grandkids. He's going to go on trips and all the stuff he's going to do. And then it it lasted for a couple months. It was fun, but then what? And so he wanted to do something around that. But I was talking to him. I'm like, John, that's so great. Like, yes, absolutely. People need that, but people need to know how to sell the way you sell. People need that genius of yours. And at first he kind of fought it like, yeah, I've been selling my whole life. But I think when we do something, we think everybody knows that, right? Like, oh,
The
if it's
curse
second
of,
nature
was
to you,
it the
this makes
curse of knowledge?
exactly, exactly. So yeah, so now he's killing it in the sales space. He's amazing, and people are
So,
so excited.
so what you're saying is, he came out of his he's been in a career for many years, and then through his curse of knowledge, he was not sure that he could provide value to the world in his sales and the skills that he has developed in his sales experience. Maybe he had imposter syndrome, right? Maybe there was things going on, and so you've helped him see the ability inside of him, or his superpower, and you've given him the ability to break free from imposter syndrome or whatever that was preventing him, so he can now help other people build their careers or skills in sales. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what he didn't realize is that he had a process because he just did it.
Right.
And so he didn't realize that he could teach a process, an actual process to do what he did.
So
To,
you
to
were able to take his look at him or speak to him and say, oh, well, you have a process, and you've been able to take that and develop the process with him and unlocking that superpower. Is that correct?
Right, right. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I think I run into people that shy away from what they currently do. But sometimes what you currently do or what you have passion for that's your superpower, right? Like, what do you really love to do? What is it that you could talk about all day long and never stop? Like that you're not going to run out of any material. You're going to just be able to talk about it and you're passionate about it. What is that thing? Well, likely that's your superpower. Likely that's the thing that you think everybody else knows that and they don't. And so to be able to package that up and then help other people with it is a great way to not just make a living, but transform lives and, have a purpose within your business.
What's interesting about that story, I don't know if you've ever read the book, Become So Good That They Can't Ignore You. It's based around a famous quote. Can't remember who said that, but it's the idea of so many people chase their passions in life, or they're in a job or whatever, and so they want to do something they're passionate about. And what happens is most people that chase passions without skills, they end up failing. What's interesting and what I love about the story is that this person has these skills that they've developed over so many years. And I could bet that $1 million that if he went into a room and somebody started talking about sales, even though he's been doing it his whole life, he's going to be the best in the room because he has all these skills. And so that knowing that he is so good at it creates a passion around it in a room of people that don't know, right? And that skill plus the ability that he's done it creates more passion. So now he's able to do it at a larger scale. So that's kind of how I see it anyway. So that's pretty amazing. So I love that story. You're known. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Next. So here's a very interesting context, and you talked a little bit about this earlier on. Love. Love is a very core topic of the stuff that you're doing. You have your own program around love, and it's central to your work and your message. What are some of the particular event relationships that fundamentally changed how you define and understand love, especially when it's kind of mixed in the business space as well?
Well, sometimes big life events make your life shift, right? And so I was diagnosed with cancer several years ago.
Oh,
And 4 months later, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he passed away 6 weeks after that. And
sorry.
my world was turned upside down. Like we did everything together. I coached varsity volleyball. He coached with me. He worked for me in the businesses. We worked together, but whatever. And I loved him. Like we had a great relationship and planned on being those 90-year-olds on the porch and rockers drinking lemonade or whatever 90-year-olds do on the porch and rockers. And all of a sudden at 47 years old, that dream was gone. And like I told you, I got married when I was 18. And so I only knew married adult, not I never was a single adult. And I wasn't sure how to do life. Like I wanted to honor him. I wanted to make sure I was doing life right because he honored me so much when he was here. I wanted to make sure that my life was honoring to him since he couldn't be here for it. And so I just started thinking, how can I do that? How can I know that I'm doing this thing right? How can I really know? And I thought, well, love is a universal thing, right? And if I really understood love, truly understood it, then and lived it, then I should be doing life right. But what is it? And I think if you put 12 people in a room and you ask all 12 of them what is love, you're going to get 12 different answers.
Yeah.
And I looked everywhere for someone who had done a deep dive into it. Like, what is love? Like, what is it really? What is it? And so I decided I would be the one to figure it out. And so I got through my health issues and was finally able to go back to work and trying to decide if I was going to go back into the businesses, but I had people running them. Had been working in the nonprofit world. And so I decided I would do that, be a bookkeeper at this little organization, whatever, just a part-time bookkeeper while I figured out my life. And 12 days after I started, there was an earthquake in Haiti that killed 200,000 people.
Wow.
So within 2 weeks, I was in Haiti. And then I spent most of the next several years in Haiti and still trying to figure out this thing, like what is love and whatever. So I decided I would dedicate a year to figuring out the true meaning of love, to search for it, uncover it, figure it out. And Matthew, honestly, if I go to dinner somewhere to a restaurant, I have a hard time committing to an entree. So committing a year to something was like this huge stretch for me, but
Wow.
I did it. I did it. I
Okay.
took this 2,000-year-old poem that you hear at every wedding in the US and your eyes glaze over. Love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast. And I decided I would take one word or phrase a month and figure out what is love that is patient, what is love that is kind. And I'll tell you, the things that I found out just blew my mind and rocked my world, changed my life. And I found out that so much that we think is love is not love. So much of what we're taught about love isn't love at all, that there's these myths around love. And when you truly get it, when you truly understand it, it can't help but transform your life.
Wow. What has that journey been like? Give me some of the stuff that you've kind of uncovered and pack a little bit of that for the readers.
Sure. Yeah. Well, love is patient. The very first one out of the gate, the very first month, I'm thinking, oh gosh, I know what patience is. You know what patience is, right? You're not honking your horn if you're stuck in traffic. You're not mad because your 5-year-old can't find their shoes and you got to get out the door, right? And that's what I thought. So love is patient. That should be easy. But I discovered that you put love is or love is not in front of any word or phrase, and it totally changes the meaning. So it took
Love
me
is not. Wow.
the entire month, every single month, something would happen at the very end of the month that I'd go, now I finally get it after searching for it for a month. So this was no different, starting out the very first month. So love is patient is different than patience. Love that is patient says that this moment right here, right now, is the most important moment of your life. What's in the past is in the past. What's in the future is yet to come. This is the most important moment. And so whoever you're with, I just believe you should love everybody. It's the freest, most wonderful way to live. Just love everybody. Don't judge, just love. So because I love everybody, whoever I'm with, whoever you're with, because you love them, showing love that is patient is being 100% present in this most important moment of your life. And I'll tell you, I stunk at this because I thought I could be in conversation and be thinking about who had to get to soccer practice, what I was going to make for dinner, whatever, meeting later, all of those things at the same time. And I realized that's not true.
Yeah.
When I focused and practiced, it took me a lot of practice. But when I practiced this and got it down and got so that I could be fully in the moment, showing love that is patient, it was a game changer. If I only would have done that 1 month, it would have changed my life. Because all of a sudden I was hearing things I never would have heard. And I was hearing them a whole different way. And people know if you're engaged with them or you're not, if your mind is wandering, right? And how unloving is it to not be fully there? So anyway, so that is love that is patient, to be fully, completely in the moment with the person that you're with.
So good. I love that. And so many of us in life and in business, we take the moment for granted, right? With our children, with our loved ones, people that mean a lot to us. And then if we don't spend those time, like there can be regrets as well, right? There's regrets when we lose the ones that we love. and we haven't been patient and in love, right? We've been
Yeah, oh my
impatient,
gosh. It's so
right?
true. Like I think about like my son Luke, when he was young, he used to poke me on the arm, Mom, 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 Mom. I think I just walked around with a bruise on my arm the whole time. And uh, and now I look back and I think, man, if I would have just stopped stirring the beans or whatever it was I was doing and looked at him and said, "What do you need, Luke?" He probably would have said, "This truck is red," and then ran away somewhere. It isn't
Yeah,
necessarily that you're gonna be so deep in conversation, but it is taking the moment. It's recognizing the importance of the moment because people are the most important thing. There's nothing more important on the face of the earth than people. And so
so
give
good.
people the moment.
Love, love, be patient and in love, love and patience. Wow. Very good, good epiphany. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree 100%. Yeah, it's so, that's so powerful. Um, let's move on to the next section. So I was actually getting goosebumps just by the way, when you were talking about that. Like it was really, really touching because I know and I see in my life impatient love or impatience really, um, it's destructive and it happens so quickly sometimes, right? Where we're just, sometimes you don't realize till after the fact you were impatient with the people around you and um, yeah, then comes the regret, right? Because you
Mhm.
realize that, and so that's the worst place to be in. But I love that, love and patience. I'm going to take that with me today. Thank you. So many people, many successful people, feel something vital is missing despite their achievements. In your experience, why do so many high performers seem to struggle to identify the more they're searching for, and where should they begin looking for?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. Love it, love it, love it. Because it's so much simpler than we make it. We tend to overcomplicate things, right? And then you take different tests that will tell you what you're missing, or there's different personality tests. And if you only understood yourself better, then you'd get it. And then you'd find that missing link or whatever it is, or a person in your life or whatever is missing. But the reality is you're your purpose. Whoever you were created to be, that's if you live totally you live completely you, not who people are telling you you are, but who you really are, and embrace who you really are. Sometimes I think about like the Mona Lisa. Like if it ever went up for sale, can you imagine how much Jeff Bezos or Elon or somebody would pay for it, right? Millions, millions, millions of dollars, who knows? It's because it's a one of a kind masterpiece. And so are you. There's nobody that has ever been exactly like you. There never will be anybody exactly like you. You're a one of a kind masterpiece. And we are our worst critics. And instead of being your worst critic, be your best friend. Look yourself in the mirror and go, there's only me. It's only you. You're the only one of you. There's something very special and incredible about that. Only you get to do all the things that you get to do. Nobody has walked your same path. Nobody. The things that you know, you're the one that knows them. The person that you are that person. So to be fully, completely you and live who you are, that's your purpose. That's your purpose. It can take you different places depending on maybe some special talents that you have or passions that you have or whatever, but really your purpose should be fulfilled in just really being completely who you truly are.
Sometimes people don't. I've found that people get confused about their purpose or what that purpose really means. How would you give people some guidance or insight as to defining their purpose and what that might mean for them?
I think it just starts with thinking about who's taking your purpose away, right? Like I think when we're born, we're just kind of carefree, these little kids, we're carefree, and we think we can conquer the world, be king of the hill, whatever it is. We just have fun and are creative and play and do what we do. And then people start telling us stuff about ourselves, right? Like I had a situation in high school, my freshman year of high school, first year in high school, I played basketball. And right at the beginning of the year was basketball season, and you had to wear a dress on game days. And so here I am, this new school, way bigger than the school I left. Very first basketball game, right at the beginning of school. I'm already nervous. And this kid walks up to me at my locker and he says, "Those are the ugliest legs I've ever seen." And oh
Wow.
my gosh, I was like, holy cow, I can't believe he just said that. And are my legs ugly? Like I wondered if they really were. And I didn't know how to handle that. Well, here I am, this many years later, and I remember that statement because I kind of took it on. I was like, guy, you must be right. Like, must be something wrong with me. Well, we have people tell us things throughout our lives, and especially as children, don't do that. You're not capable of that. You're not able to do that. Don't, whatever, don't and no, we hear so often, and that somebody's better than we are, or whatever, all those words. If you can come to a place where you get rid of those, where you go, wait a minute, am I thinking this because somebody told me it or because it's really me?
Mm,
And get rid of the stuff that is from the outside and take some time to go a little inside and get back to who you are. Get back in touch with who you are. And that's kind of all you need to do. Because when you
yeah,
do, you open yourself up a whole different way, right? I
so
mean, you
good.
live the life that you want to live when you're fully yourself.
So I love that idea. One of the things I ever think that most people struggle with is what other people think. What do other people think? There's a lot of study that I've done in my own personal development is understanding the signals or the voices in my head or in your head, right? It's like oftentimes, and social media has impacted this huge, like what other people think, right? We've got to get the likes and the comments and the things these days going on. And I recognized a few years ago about this whole powerful context of what other people think. And I struggled with it a lot in my childhood and growing up, wondering about what other people think. And it comes from stories like that you've just told, where some kid will say something to you, or they bully you, or they say something to you that then you ruminate about for a long time. I mean, some of the things that kids have said will stay with you for your life, right? Even. And
Yeah.
so what I've started doing, this is a practice that I have, and I do this purposefully so that I can manage that signal or that voice in my head, is I go into public places um, where there's stuff going on, and I'll do something strange or weird in a public place, and I'll listen to that signal. For instance, yesterday, and I do this oftentimes, there's a big intersection with in the mornings, and there's traffic everywhere that comes through this intersection. And in the middle of this intersection, there's a section of grass, and I literally go and sit on this grass in the middle of this intersection, and I meditate with all these cars going past me. And the reason I do that is so that I can understand that language in my head and feel that I know people are looking at me, but taking that emotion and controlling that emotion, saying it's okay. I am who I am, and I don't need to worry about what other people think. And doing this practice regularly has actually been so powerful in being able to recognize straight away when I'm in that situation where I'm worrying about what other people think. And that's allowed me to be more aware or self-aware of that language in my head. Being in a place where it's uncomfortable, I know people are looking at me, but I've got to manage that voice, that signal. And doing that has been a really big game changer for me in managing that. Anyway, just thought
That's
I'd share
genius.
that.
I love that. That's so good. That's so good. I'm
Yeah,
going to start doing that.
not easy, not easy, but if you constantly do it, it really does bring awareness to you in a whole different world, in a different way, where you notice, oh, I'm worrying about what those people are thinking. Why am I doing that? Like, that's just ridiculous. And so that's been really good for me. Wow. Okay. So you um, have both led for profit and humanitarian organizations, which I think is amazing. How has your direct work with diverse communities around the world influenced your approach to leadership, purpose and fulfillment?
I think that if you're in business, one of the things that you should have is compassion, and you should care about people. There's not a lot of businesses that are not people-centered, that you're selling to people or you're employing people. Most things are centered around people, or at least partially. And so compassion's a thing, right? Like, um, I, it, I just believe you should have compassion, whether you're in the nonprofit world. Obviously, you better have compassion, because what are you doing otherwise? But also in the business world, if you can bring that same kind of compassion to the business world, uh, it shifts the way you look at things, shifts the way you think about things, realizing that the world's a much bigger place. Like I think too often we kind of skip compassion and look at dollars over people, look at dollars over compassion. And I'm here to tell you, the more compassionate you are and the more you care about people, the more money you're going to make. It just
Wow.
is the incredible thing that happens in our universe, where you can't outgive. You can't outgive. I remember the first time I went to the Dominican Republic on a mission trip. They had um, a big hurricane and went right over Santo Domingo. I mean, so many things were destroyed. I went there to help, but I walked away with so much more. Like, I kept trying to help more, help more, help more. But what I walked away with was so much more than I could ever give. And it's just the way our universe works. So the more true compassion you show, don't fake it, but be authentic. And I had situations I had to deal with over the years. I had a guy who'd worked for me for years, got married at an older, he was like 40, finally found the woman of his dreams. He was so excited, got married. She had a little boy. And the little boy was driving their riding lawnmower right before they're leaving for their honeymoon, and ran over him, and he broke his back.
Oh,
And
geez.
he was in the hospital for a long time, and then in rehab for a long time. And I paid him the whole time. I think it was 6 months probably or more before he was able to come back to work. And
Wow.
I paid him the whole time. And sure, I needed to pay somebody else, or I needed to, make up the work that he was doing somehow. But if I wouldn't have, what then? Like, it's not like he can go get another job. It's not like, something magical can happen and all of a sudden he's got this pot of gold that he doesn't have to worry about an income. He
Yeah.
needs the income, he needs the insurance. And so, of course I paid. Well, that's compassionate, right? Like, caring about the person, not just the job that they're doing, but truly caring about the person. Uh, he worked for me forever. He worked for me till I sold that business. And
Wow. I mean, and I'm
loyal
sure
and
that the loyalty would have been immense by showing your compassion. Meant his connection with you, the bond with you and your business was heightened, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Do
And I
you?
think the other thing is,
Sorry.
the, just a little, sorry, but another thing about going and working in other parts of the world is it expands your world. And the bigger you can make your world, the better. When you realize that different people live different ways, different cultures, be happy, be grateful for what you have. I live in the United States. I'm so grateful I live in the United States. I'm so grateful I've had these opportunities. So grateful that I live in the house I live in, that I'm able to have the car I have, all the stuff and I work with people that they have average Haitian eats 3 meals a week.
Wow.
So, and I'm throwing away rotten tomatoes. Like, something's wrong with that picture, right? But it expands how I see the world and makes me realize the world is so much bigger than we are. So our problems then become very small.
So good.
And the smaller you can make your problems, the better, right?
It's
So
so good. Yeah,
in
I
the
agree
world,
100%. I have my daughter. I come from South Africa. I saw a lot of poverty growing up. My daughter was born in Australia and has seen privilege and doesn't understand the context of different environments. So I'm trying to teach her exactly that. It's that when you expand your horizon, or you see different cultures and different places in different parts of the world and experience it, not just see it in a picture, but actually live in it, experience it. Everything inside here shifts, right? It clicks up a different notch, and you do become a better human, I believe, the more of the world that you see. And it's so important. And doing the stuff that you've been doing with humanitarian organizations and non-for-profits, that's not an easy thing to do. Tell me about some of the challenges and that you've seen and faced that you feel that you've been able to contribute to in what you've been doing.
Well, one of the things that I did, an organization that I ran, we would help people get things into the country that they needed. So like Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It's very poor. And there's no opportunity. There's no jobs. You know, it's not about laziness. People mistake that sometimes. It has nothing to do with being lazy. Haitians, I know, man, they're ambitious. They want a job. There just aren't any. They're just, the world has hurt Haiti in so many ways, a whole nother conversation. But they need pencils for school. And there's no Walmart. There's no place quite often to just go buy pencils. And so there's no pencils. They need medical supplies to have a clinic. These things that we can just walk down the street and buy aren't available at all. And so I did the toughest thing that you can possibly do, and that is shipping containers into developing nations. Not an easy thing. It's such a chore, and especially as a woman. Because in Haiti, in Venezuela, where I've worked, Burkina Faso, I mean, you kind of name it, every place is very male dominated. And often I would find myself the only woman on the docks,
Wow.
the only woman there, and not respected for being the only woman there, but ignored for being the only woman there. So
Wow.
I had to figure stuff out. I had to not quit. You know, it can be so easy, right, to throw up your hands and go, all I'm trying to do is help you people. And look at what's going on. You know, you're not being any help to me. There was flooding in Venezuela. 60,000 people died. The world,
Wow.
most people don't even know this happened several years ago because Hugo Chavez was in charge and he was a very proud man and we can take care of our own people. Well, I went there and was going to ship down medicine, found out what they needed. They talked to doctors in places where people who had lost their homes were living on top of each other practically. And so if somebody got sick, they all got sick in these stadiums. So I talked to a doctor, found out what he needed, found out, you know, I could get it down to in there. So I went to the docs and I said, you know, who's your boss? Who's your boss? Shipping this stuff, but I want to know it's not going to get stolen at the docks. You know, it's got to get in. And they would say, yes, but I didn't believe them. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I was like leaving the next day and I had to do something. So I went to the president's office.
No.
And the guard, I just said to the guard at the gate, I said, I'm Kim Sorrelle and I'm here to see President Chavez. And he got on the phone and then he hung up the phone and he waved me in. And I went and parked and then they pointed at a building and I walked in and there was a guy at a desk and I said, I'm Kim Sorrelle. I'm here to see President Chavez. He made a call. He told me where to sit. A little while later, he motioned me up the stairs and I walk up these stairs and there's a press conference going on. And there he is with this press conference. So all in a language I don't speak. And so I'm watching, you know, not knowing what's going on, but there I am. And then I got ushered into his office.
Wow.
And a few minutes later, he walked in. He walked in with a couple other guys, chief of whatever, right? And I just told him, I want to help, but I don't want anything stolen at the dock. Like, I'm not going to ship it and have it stolen. These people are in need. Like, I'll take you over there if you want to meet this doctor, if you want to meet these people. I don't know if you know what's going on, but I'm happy to help, but not if it's going to get stolen. And he gave me his word that everything would go off the dock and go right to exactly where it needed to go. And so I sent it, and that's what happened. And then I got a phone call from an organization that was down there while I was down there that I wanted to partner with, but they way bigger organization. They didn't need my help. And they called me like a year later and they said, hey, do you still have that contact? Because their stuff that they sent down was still sitting on the docks a year later.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it's
And
not like I haven't kept in touch with Hugo really, so I don't know how I can help you out. But anyway, but you have to get it done. It's like
wow.
in business, in life in general, I don't really think about my gender until it's pointed out to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when it's pointed out at the docks, when you stand out and you're being treated a whole different way, you just have to plow through, figure out a way and make it happen, not give up.
I love that. I love that saying. Make it happen. What can I do to make this happen? It's one of my favorite sayings. What can I do to make this happen? All right. If only more people live by that theory or that motto. So many people just want to give up, give up too easily when victory is just around the corner. Really love that story. Love how you just took it in your own hands, went to the president and said, "Hey, come on, you got to help me out. Let's do this thing." I really love that. That's so tenacious. Um, so you've been helping people um, who are feeling overwhelmed find their superpower, um, and you help people opening up the experience to love. What's so in terms of, I mean, you've got a lot going on. I want to kind of hone in on probably one of them. I think you're right. We covered a bit about love. This podcast is more fundamentally about business. Not that I didn't love what you're talking about. It's amazing. Let's talk about love in business, right? And helping people uncover their superpower. Let's talk about superpowers specifically, because I love the idea of superpowers, because everyone has a superpower, right? And some people don't realize they have a superpower. Um, when they do realize it, it can open up a world of opportunities. But what would you say to people out there that are struggling to identify their superpowers, are struggling to be seen in the world, are struggling to really get a handle on their, let's call it the superpower? What would steps or what things would you advise them to do to break free and to kind of either unlock, tap into, or maybe figure out their own superpowers? What would you do? What do you say?
Well, I would say one of the best exercises you can do is take a piece of paper and a pencil and just start writing everything you do. Like you know how to read, right? So read and but just keep going with the list. You like to garden or you like to do this, you like to do that, whatever it is, but set a timer for like 3 minutes or whatever, but set a timer and then make yourself keep writing that whole time. And your attributes, what it is about you, or you're kind, you're loving, you're compassionate. What is it? Just keep the list, just write it, write it, write it, write it, write it. And then when the buzzer goes off, you'll be amazed at all the things you are. You'll be amazed. And you wrote them, so it's true of you. You know that those things are true. Nobody's making them up because you wrote them and you wrote them about yourself. And when you see that list and you might go, holy cow, I had no idea. It's almost like somebody else is giving you an introduction or something. Somebody else is talking about you, making you sound really good. Well, no, that's you. That you really are capable of all those things. You really have all those attributes. That is you. That is you. And when you can recognize that you're so much more than you think you are, and stop letting the world tell you who you are, you figure out who you are, and that you're so much more than you think you are. And you'll see things on that list that you maybe haven't thought about in years. And went, oh gosh, yeah, I used to really love to draw. Like I never draw anymore, whatever it is. But you'll see things on the list that will open your mind. You'll see things on the list that you'll go, you know what? I'm a decent human being. Like I'm a good friend. Like, people are lucky to know me. Like I'm lucky to know people, but they're lucky to know me. I'm good with people, whatever it is, all your stuff. But do that for yourself. And in there is your superpower. In that list, you will uncover your superpower.
So good. So just walk me through that process again. So I'm going to get a notepad. What am I thinking in my head when I'm going to write down? What am I writing? I am. What is the words that I'm using, or what is the framing that I'm using to write down this list? What does that look like?
Yeah, I am and I can. I
I
can.
am and I can.
Yeah,
So
I
those,
am.
those are the starting point for each sentence. I am, and write as many I am, I cans as you possibly can in a whole period of time. And then once you finished, how long did you say that time should take?
Well, I'll tell you, it will seem like the longest 3 minutes of your life, but 3 minutes,
3 minutes.
do it for three
Yeah,
minutes. And just make yourself keep writing. Make yourself keep thinking of things and keep writing.
so good. I was just, I'm busy reading for about the fifth time now, Robert Cialdini's Influence. And in his book, I was just listening to last night, he was talking about the power of writing stuff down and how it influences us psychologically and internally. And when we write things onto paper, it opens up a whole world of opportunity for us. And I think that is such a powerful context. Write stuff down. And if you get a whole lot of I can and I am statements, and no doubt in amongst there is your superpower. I think that is so powerful and so important to do. Um, but writing it down, and maybe I would suggest is at the end of that list, give yourself a mini goal. Like write yourself down a mini goal and say, I'm going to do this thing in the next while and accomplish that goal. Because once you write it down, it now becomes real, right? Based on all the stuff that you've got on paper. So good. So good. Love that. Awesome. So let's move down the path. What is your superpower? What do you think your superpower is specifically right now?
It's always a little bit harder to identify your own superpower than it is in other people. It can be so easy to see, oh my gosh, Matthew, you're this, you're that, whatever, you're the king of the world. But then looking internally, it can be more difficult. I do know that I'm very good at starting businesses and developing very successful businesses, helping people who are in business 10x, 20x, 30x their business. Business is something I feel like it's genetic somehow, that it's just sort of inborn in me because of my dad, I guess. I don't know. He was the greatest businessman I've ever known. And so I know how to turn around businesses. I know how to get businesses ready to sell when people think there's no value in them. Anything to do with business, I can do. I can do.
So good.
So
Do you have a
that's,
framework for all of that? Is there a framework that you've developed, or is it just intuition, or like how does it work that you've been able to be successful at that?
it's funny because intuition can turn into a framework, right? Because it's nice when people know that there's steps to follow, when there's certain things to follow. And so if you can take that intuition and then figure out, well, how do you put that into words? How do you put intuition into words?
And do you have
And
that? Do you have that
I
for
do, I
business?
do have that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because so many things are the same with everybody, right? Like different businesses can have different nuances and whatever, but I just believe that if you can run a business, you can run any business. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're good at business, you're good at business. And it doesn't matter if it's a dry cleaning shop or it's a manufacturing plant, whatever it is, you learn the nuts and bolts of it, but the business mind is separate from that and can really do anything.
But
So
once you have a framework that's transferable, I think that's the skill that you've learned. You've probably got a natural mm, kind of knack for that framework. But for some people who are not so experienced in business, they need to develop a framework or develop the abilities sometimes, right? And is that something you help people with by any chance?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I do help people with that. And kind of going back to the whole love thing, love, like we started out, love is universal, right? And love is everywhere all the time. It's not like you take it off when you get to work and hang it up in the coat closet, or, leave it on the floor in the bedroom, or, whatever. Like, love is who you are. It's walking, talking, living, breathing, giving. And when you recognize that, and you live love, and you live love at work, that you love people at work, not just as coworkers, but love them because they're human beings deserving of love, right? Everybody wants to be loved. Then you look at things differently. You look at your business differently. You look at people differently. Everything is different. So it goes right along with a framework for building your business, or rescuing your business, or selling your business, because it has to start there. If you're not human to begin with, you're going to have a hard time. I mean, there's plenty of people that are successful that are, still run things like they did during the Mad Men eras, or like my dad, his 1960s, 1970s leadership mentality that he had to change. But business doesn't run like that anymore, and probably never should have in the first place. But it is about people. Everything is about people. And so bring that love that you are to the workplace. It absolutely changes everything. And it changes because people will want to do business with you. People will be drawn to you. People will go, wow, what is it about this business that's different than this business? And people will pay you more for the same product. Because, because we're human. We're human. And our greatest desire is to be loved. That's our greatest, deepest desire. So when you can authentically do that, I was going to say sky's the limit, but then I read where you said, don't tell me the sky's the limit, because there's footprints on Mars. So whatever the limit is, there's no limit.
There's a context that love is weak. And I suppose coming from a masculine perspective, that a lot of people might think that love is weak. So if you had this context of love, it's weak. But I was just thinking about it as you were speaking there. And love is not a weakness. Love is totally the strength, right? Because love, if you think about your children, or you think about families, or you think about things that happen around you, love is not giving in or being submissive. Love is being in charge, in control, and being a leader in that environment where you're doing it from a point of empathy, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. Love is not weak. There's nothing weak about love. Sometimes it takes a strong stomach even to love some people, right? But I always think you don't have to like everybody, but you can still love them. You can still love them and treat them as human.
Respectfully, yeah.
Can. Treat them respectfully, absolutely. And it takes strength to do that. It is the opposite of being weak. It's easy. It's easy to kind of crap on people. Man, that's easy. It's easy to not worry about what's going to happen in their home if they lose their job, or, if they come in and they're having a bad day. It's so much easier to just walk away than to sit for a second and go, are you okay? Is everything all right? Who knows? They might have just lost somebody or found out a bad diagnosis. I mean, who knows? But that takes strength. That takes strength to do that.
It's very hard.
Moment.
It's hard to come from a leadership perspective of love, but I do understand the value. We need to, as leaders, be more receptive. Business is tough, but working in a business is also tough. And having a team, that the only way you're going to have success in life and business is by having people around you. The only way you'll keep people around you is by loving them and showing that empathy. I think that's a really powerful leadership quality to have in business and in life. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Yeah, I think it's the most important quality. If you have that, you can learn other things. But I think it's the number. You got to start there.
It's like going to gym or trying to build muscle, right? You have to constantly be practicing it because it doesn't come naturally to everybody.
Right. Absolutely true. So true.
So good. So there's going to be people here that want to get to know more about you, who want to learn about you, and experience your love and your purpose and so you can help them in their lives. Where can they connect with you, or how can they get hold of you to move forward after this?
Yeah, well, I am literally the only Kim Sorrelle spelled my way in the entire world because my last name is ridiculous. It has way too many letters. There's 2 R's, 2 E's, 2 L's, SORRELLE. So kimsorrelle.com is my website. But YouTube, on my YouTube channel, is a great place to go. And it's just Kim Sorrelle because I get that luxury of being the only one. So anywhere, but that's a great way to connect. Is if you want to see more, my YouTube channel is a good place to go.
I'm going to add this part in. I believe you have a free giveaway thing. Do you have a?
I do, yes, on my website, a free
Oh,
14-day love
we'll
challenge.
we'll cut that part out.
Okay,
So
okay.
what just go into that and talk about that.
Okay, all right. So on my website, if you go to my website, kimsorrelle.com, I have a free 14-day love challenge. And sometimes people think of love and they think of like unicorns and cotton candy, or I don't know, whatever. Well, love, like we said, is strength. Love is not what people think it is. And so learning then what love is really what that 14-day love challenge is all about. It's free, download it. And it's short thing to do every day. Give you something to think about, but it's powerful.
Amazing. So just for all the listeners out there, we'll be adding the link to that below this this podcast. And Kim, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've learned a lot from you today, a lot to think about regarding leadership and love, a lot of big insights around business and managing and running businesses. We talked a lot about staff and managing staff, and sometimes it's not easy letting people go. The compassion of looking after your team, and we talked about the person that was working with you that got injured by his kid with a lawnmower. That was pretty sad, but you were able to be compassionate about that. That helped with them coming back to business and life again, which is amazing. And you've shared so much of your insights today about this context of love and breaking people out of this and finding their superpower. Really loved the tool that you provided us by writing it down. I can, I am. Is that right? I can, I am. That's good. I'm going to give that a crack. But writing it down is so powerful. I think it's one of the core ingredients to getting your mind ignited and really finding that purpose inside of you. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim Sorrelle.